All right, it's recording now. So then I think that the way this is going to work is I'll get like both of these, like the audio, the video, etc., and I'll be able to edit it or whatever. So there's also the option, obviously, anything that we talk about that you don't want out there. If you're okay with some stuff and you want some stuff cut out, we can do that too. I'm pretty flexible. I usually prefer to present the whole thing, but I'm pretty flexible with this. I've actually never done like a pre-recorded online one for literally, so it'll be a little bit different. But that's fine. Okay, so I guess first of all, as we were kind of getting into it a little bit, do you want to tell me a little bit about how you found out about street epistemology, or how you made your way to the Discord server eventually?
Yeah, I just basically, was watching it off of YouTube a little bit. It came from preaching to seeing street epistemology, and I started doing research, and it sounded very interesting what some people claimed that they were doing, and it was like, wow, that's like really cool. Well, I mean,
Okay, so
what they were doing was like basically having this different conversations and just challenging their beliefs and stuff. And I was like, wow, that sounds something that people can actually do. Anybody? Well, that sounds not anybody, but it sounds like very interesting indeed.
Cool. So you mostly just found it off of YouTube or something like that. The YouTube algorithm gave you some videos, and you're like, "Whoa, what is this?"
Yeah.
So, do you have any idea whose videos you saw initially?
Oh, I think some guy named Andrew something, but I can't remember the full last name. I think it's Italian or something, but and also,
maybe it was probably Anthony Magnabosco. He's kind of like the biggest name of it. He's sometimes considered like the father of SE, with the grandfather being Peter Boghossian. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So it was probably you saw Anthony. He's got a ton of videos, and he's probably has like the most subscribers and views and all that. He's been doing it for years and years and years. So that's where my autofocus screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you found that, and then you just kind of started digging and thought it sounded interesting, and then made your way to it, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. And then, so this is pretty recent then?
Yeah. Well, actually, a couple of maybe like a last year and a half ago, and just came back a couple of months. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. All right. So the way that these conversations kind of go is the idea is that we can explore some belief that you have, and we can do that in a way where we can seriously look at the belief, and we can really investigate why you believe what you do, what are the reasons for that, what are the quality of those reasons, etc., and try to, for me at least, part of the goal is helping people kind of reflect on their beliefs and calibrate their confidence in a particular position based on the quality of their reasoning and the whatever information they have about that belief. And are you like shuffling papers or something?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think you can hear it. I'm sorry. No, I'm okay. No, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. And what I really like about SE is that it gives me a way to talk to people about stuff, and it really can be almost anything. But sometimes, especially like deeply held beliefs that people have, it can be difficult or uncomfortable to talk about them. And sometimes people can get really heated, and you can wind up in an argument or a fight. And what I like about SE is that it's a way to have these discussions, but we can do it in like a really friendly, collaborative manner where people aren't getting super defensive. They're not getting mad. It's not anything where anybody's going to feel like really crappy at the end of it. Hopefully, if I'm doing my job properly, asking the questions, then hopefully we both feel good about the conversation when we're done with it. And so if that all sounds good to you and you'd like to go through the process, we can we can have an interview about some belief that you have, preferably something that is at least in some way important to you. So if you were to lay out, some belief that you have and describe that claim, what belief do you want to look at?
The belief that like an afterlife exists, or like heaven or something like that. Just
Okay, cool.
pretty straightforward,
Yeah. So the claim could be something like heaven exists. Do you want to do just like an afterlife general, or do you want to do heaven more specifically, or does it really matter? Or
I'll just say an afterlife, really.
okay, so there is an afterlife. Would that be fine? Just leave it like that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I'm going to be mostly referring to heaven, though. Is that okay?
It's fine with me. Either one is okay with me. Whatever you think of. So before we really get into the reasons that you have and how confident you are in this belief, I have a few kind of introductory questions, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And these questions are just kind of for setting the tone and getting us in like a headspace to really explore things. All right. So my first question for you is, what do you think about being open-minded? What are your thoughts on open-mindedness?
It's always good to stay humble, and it's always good to understand that sometimes you can be wrong about something, and it's a very humbling experience when you know that you can be wrong about something. It's not good to be arrogant.
Okay, cool. And then next question would be, do you consider yourself to be an open-minded person?
Yeah, I'll say yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so next question is looking at how confident you are in this belief. So looking at the claim, right, there is an afterlife, or maybe heaven exists or something like that. How would you rate your confidence that that belief is true?
I'll say a 10.
Out of 10?
Wait, so yeah, 10 out of 10, yeah. 10 out of 10, yeah.
Okay. So 10 out of 10, very confident, sounds like. When you say 10 out of 10 confidence, what does that mean to you? What do you think of for something that, what does it mean to be 10 out of 10
Like,
in a belief?
it's like, so there's things in life that you have like like probability or possibilities. It's like it's something like where it's like on a probability where like impossible or 50% chance, like maybe or maybe not. Then 100% is like certain, like absolutely certain, like stuff like that. So this one, I'm just like absolutely. I'll say I'm just certain that it's like
certain, absolutely certain.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about like possibilities, probabilities, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When you say you're 10 out of 10 on this belief, are you saying that it is not possible for you to be wrong?
Yeah, it's not possible. It's not possible.
Like, it's impossible for there not to be an afterlife. If that's not what you're saying, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding you properly.
I mean, I'll say it's a stronger chance, a very strong chance of there being an afterlife. Well, I mean, like, you know what? Yeah, I'll say I'm certain. Yeah, I'm certain. I'm certain. Really, yeah.
Okay, so you're certain. So like 10 out of 10. All right, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on. We're both clear on what 10 out of 10 means. That's all that questions is asking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. All right. So what do you think is your strongest reason for this belief?
That's that. Well, see, here's where it may get a little controversial, but I do believe that there's a like, so our souls, right? It's like I mean, people don't believe in the soul, but I believe we all have a soul and spirit. And um, I think the soul is like some type of, different form of energy, and it's not like in this dimension for us to see in the spirit. So uh, we can't see our souls, obviously, but we can sense things that is like not in the natural realm sometimes. And when somebody like passes over or something, well, we just know deep down that like um the soul cannot, if it's like an energy, then it can't be destroyed and all that. So I believe it's eternal. But um you know like if it cannot be destroyed, then it obviously cannot, it's not going to go away, so it has to go somewhere. And also, not only that, but there's also been, close people that I've known around me who have had who have at least, flat flat out flatline, died, and they have experienced some form of supernatural activity when they see their own body outside, and they start to, you know travel into places and meet people and experience things that they couldn't experience. So that's just some parts of proofs that I got. Really, that's just two main proofs. Really.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying, first of all, that you believe in souls, that people have souls. Um, that's a major reason why you believe an afterlife exists. And the second reason is from like near death experiences that people have had.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah,
Would those be? Does that sound right to you?
yeah,
If I ever say, I
yeah, yeah,
often
yeah.
will
That's
repeat
that's
back.
good. That's good. Right.
Okay, cool. That's just something I like to do a lot, is repeat back what I'm hearing to make sure that I'm understanding you properly. And anytime that I'm trying to kind of summarize what you've said, if I say something wrong, please correct me so that we make sure that we're always understanding and we're on the same page. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So souls, and then these near death experiences, that sort of thing. Um, And then I guess it might be useful to kind of define our terms here. So maybe we should go through some of these terms and make sure we understand and we're talking about the same thing again. So when you're talking about like an afterlife, um, can you kind of describe what you mean by an afterlife? Like, I know that
Um,
it might be something that sounds kind of obvious, but if you could just kind of describe it for me a little bit, that'd be helpful.
um, an afterlife is basically it's basically like a different dimension that's outside of our realm. Honestly, like it's like this different thing outside of our realm, and a different uh so it's like a different dimension basically. Like we are here in the third dimension, and then afterlife is going to be something else outside, like it's extraordinary, supernatural in a way. So it's something that where you cannot go in this dimension in your physical body because you're limited to material world. So there's a world outside of this realm, which is a spiritual realm.
Is there any way for us to like detect or observe,
The spiritual realm.
yeah, like this when you're talking about like another realm, outside dimension thing?
I guess you can. You could probably just I don't know. Well, no, not I don't know. So, I mean, you can possibly um like you can basically just feel the presence. You can also test, see what happens to like the brain and the scan and stuff like that after you die, but stuff like that, yeah. So I'm just a little shaken. I'm not.
No, it's fine. You can feel. Did you say feel a presence of some sort?
Well, uh, hmm. Nah, not quite. Probably just supernatural. We probably have an experience or encounter with other stuff like that. But to basically test it would be to like scientific method. Basically, you need to basically align certain things together, and you need to just make observations and then come to conclusions. To test it. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying scientific test or anything like that. I'm just you mentioned that this is outside of our realm or it's another dimension, and I'm just wondering, like, does this dimension like interact with our where we are? Is it like outside
Um,
of our universe, or is it within the same universe? Or I'm
I think
just curious how we could know if it like this dimension or realm, different realm exists.
I
Maybe.
believe it's possible because I believe there is something called good and bad spirits. So, like, there's some spirits that are morally good, some spirits that are morally bad. So, I think you can basically use that as an interference, not interference, but use it as some test or something. I believe,
Okay.
because I mean they do. I believe they interact with the world today, but I mean, uh, just one thing.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. No, that's helpful. I think that helps identify possibly another reason. Um, okay. So what I'm hearing, and once again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of hearing three different reasons for um, that are supporting this belief. And one is you believe that souls exist, right? And you said something like souls are um, like a different kind of energy or something, and like spirit, and that they're eternal. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah,
And then you talked about people who've had like near death experiences, um, out of body experiences, that sort of thing, um, where they've, been on the verge of death and maybe even like their heart stopped, right? That sort of thing. And they've had some sort of supernatural experience. And then the third reason you talked about were you believe in good and bad spirits, and you believe these spirits can interact with our world.
yeah, but they're just in a different like outside lane. They're in a different realm, but they can still because I've seen it happen before. I'm not. I mean, I've
You,
even had
you've
experiences with these things.
you've seen like you've had like personal experiences with good and bad spirits somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That'll be helpful. Okay. Um, this is gonna be a little bit tricky potentially. So let me know if this is hard to do. It might be hard to do. But I'm kind of hearing about these three, maybe four main reasons: the belief in souls, these near-death experiences, and then this idea of good and bad spirits, and also having maybe had personal experiences with spirits. If let's just pretend that your belief, right, your reasons for your belief are a pie chart, right,
Mm-hmm.
your circle,
Yeah.
and you can fill in your 100% or your 10 out of 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 out of 10 confidence using these reasons that you've identified.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those reasons, souls, near death experiences, and maybe experiences with spirits, which one of those you think is the biggest piece of that pie?
I mean, probably just what I experienced. Some things I've because it's all I don't know. Like what I experienced was also very powerful indeed. And you know what happened? When you say that you have souls and because anyone can give you anything, but when you personally experience something yourself, you can't, shake it. I know it sounds absurd in a way, but I just think that that's one, and the second one would be the near death experience because people who've died, and they really all say something very similar. So, I mean, think about like people who don't know each other, who've gone to heaven, they all say something very similar. And, it sounds very, I mean, you can't just say something in the brain because they have seen something, they have experienced something. So that's the second piece. The last one is just souls, but the personal experiences seem to be very.
Okay. Do you think the soul belief? Do you think that you maybe believe in souls because of these personal experiences and what you know about NDEs?
Not even just that, because it's also basically on the idea of what consciousness is anyway. So, it's fun that consciousness just exists after death.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part. What do you say about consciousness and after
It
death?
exists after death.
Okay, so and you believe consciousness exists after death, and that's kind of in support of the idea of souls?
Yeah, because our being still goes somewhere. It can't be just material flesh. So I don't believe in just only the material world at all. It's like it's not possible in my eyes.
Help explain that to me a little bit. How is it not possible?
Oh yeah, on the material world. It's just like. Uh, nah, I mean, it's like a whole, it's just too hard to believe. Honestly, I'm not gonna. I mean, not only that, but it's just like there's actually some type of like what within all the experiences I've seen is like just not possible for that. Only just material and all. So
Yeah, you kind of said this a few times. You said like it's not possible. You are 10 out of 10. It's not possible that you're wrong.
yeah,
Okay. Um, when we started this conversation, I asked you what you thought about being open-minded,
yeah,
and I think you said that it's good. It's good to be humble, and it's good to be willing to change your mind,
yeah,
or something along those lines. Does that sound correct?
yeah,
And you also said you tend to think of yourself as an open-minded person.
yeah.
Does saying it's impossible that I'm wrong about this, does that line up with being an open-minded person?
Well, no, but because I'm open. Well, okay, I'll say so far, I don't think that I am. I seem to be wrong, but I'm still open at the same time to like having some proof or some evidence or something that will convince me to show that there's no uh, afterlife or anything. I mean, if
Okay.
someone could, I mean,
So you would say you are open to changing your mind.
yeah, I am. I mean, I haven't seen
Okay.
any proof for someone to say there's no afterlife. So,
Gotcha.
I haven't
Would it
seen any evidence that supports that the idea of an afterlife is false. So, I mean,
um would you have to be would we have to have absolute proof against an afterlife in order to not believe it? Should we believe something until we have proof that it isn't real? Or should we believe something only once we have good reason and evidence that it is real?
I'll say the second option.
Okay. I'm curious now, you are saying that you are willing to potentially revise your position on this
Yeah.
if you were maybe presented with good evidence that could convince you.
Hmm.
Um, So would it be more appropriate, you think, to maybe instead of being at 10 out of 10 to be at like 9.99?
Or probably, yeah, or maybe even 9.6 or something.
Okay.
Or 9, honestly.
Okay. I'm not saying that you have to do that. Don't change your confidence level just because I'm asking either. I hope that I hope that that's like an honest reflection there. Because part of the reason that I do this is I do want to encourage critical thinking and open-mindedness and willingness to update our beliefs. To me, that's very important and very healthy. And so, if you can be doesn't you don't have to go all the way down to 9, but even if you're just leaving the door open a tiny crack that you could be wrong, I think that might be a healthier position. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay, cool. And sorry for I kind of preached at you a little bit there, so I apologize. Try to stick to questions. All right. Well, I'm glad we at least somewhat agree on that. So, okay. So I've heard you talk about personal experiences, and I might have misheard you. Did you say that you had a near-death experience yourself?
No.
Oh, okay. So, my next question is about it's something called a real reason check. So, a real reason check is where we look at one of the reasons, and I'm going to start with one that you identified as a major reason. And I'm going to ask some questions to test and see if that's a real reason or not. Like if this is something that is supporting your belief in a significant way. Okay. So if you had not had these personal experiences with, I think you said like good and bad spirits, if you could imagine your life having not had that happen, where do you think your confidence in this belief would be?
Possibly to a 5 or a 6, honestly.
Okay.
Or probably even
So to me,
even lower than those numbers, like to maybe a 4.
yeah. So yeah, like so imagine, that you still have heard these testimonials about NDEs from other people, but you'd never had a personal experience with a spirit. You'd maybe come down to like a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. That tells me that this is a major reason why you have this belief. So now a similar question. If in the future you learned more about these experiences that you've had, and maybe you were to become convinced from some evidence or some data or some sort of explanation that satisfies you. But let's say in the future you change your mind about these personal experiences and you start to think maybe these experiences you had with spirits weren't because of spirits from another realm interacting with our world that you perceive them, but they were the result of some sort of natural phenomenon. Maybe a hallucination, maybe, I don't know. I don't know the nature of your experiences, but let's just say that sometime in the future, you were to change your mind about not that you had the experience, right? Because I believe you that you had the experience. I'm sure you had experience. I've had experiences myself. But if you were to become convinced that those experiences were not due to spirits, but were the result of some sort of natural process, would that change your confidence in this claim?
Yeah.
Okay. Would it all similar come down 5-4 or something like that?
Yeah, it would have went down.
Okay. Cool. So once again, that's another real reason check passed. So I did it kind of two different ways. Just checking to see, okay, is this a major reason that contributes to your confidence? And it sounds like it really is. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I want to focus on that. It sounds like it's a bigger component of your confidence than NDEs or a belief in the soul and that sort of thing. Would you be okay with sharing a little bit about the experiences that you've had in a little more detail?
There was a time that I was dabbling into some other type of practices that I was doing. I wouldn't say that. There was a time I was, I was talking, praying to God one day, and I did have an encounter. Well, I was encountered by His spirit, so I felt, His love, and that was one encounter. I felt His presence, and I felt something that couldn't be done on my own. I realized because I realized it couldn't be my own emotions. Like I felt His encounter and His spirit surrounding me. That's the good spirit part, and the bad spirit part
Okay.
is that there was other times that before I encountered that love from the good spirit, I was dabbling with some other type of stuff, which I'm not going to say. I mean, some. It wasn't anything bad, but it's just that I just had encountered I seen I just felt a negative presence, a negative vibe around me from someone I was talking to, and their eyes turned a little dark, and it's stuff like that. And I felt like this cold and this dark, uncomfortable, sad presence, which was something that I couldn't put into words, but it's like that times 100 or something, which is not a normal realm. And I was perfectly sane and normal at that time. It happened in the park when I was like a kid or something. So
Okay. I have two questions at this
yeah,
point. I might
yeah.
have more. The first one is you said that something along the lines of, and I know that couldn't have just been me or my own. I forget exactly how you put it, but it was something like I knew that it had to be something outside of myself. Does that sound right?
Yeah, outside myself.
Okay. Yeah. How do you know that?
Because I know how I feel even on my worst days, and I know that I can't ever produce a feeling like that, no matter how much my body tries to reproduce it. Like for the negative spirit part, and even for the good spirits parts, on my best days, I cannot produce something like that at all. So
Like trying to will yourself to have an emotion?
even my strongest emotions cannot produce that. And not only that, but there's no other outside influence. Well, there's no other natural influence that could have caused that at all. So that's why I know. Like, it wasn't. I wasn't even on anything or taking any natural influences. I was just a regular,
Mhm.
sane, walking, normal, healthy human being, and those things appeared. So
Hmm. Okay, this is going to be maybe a little bit challenging, um, but I think it's a good exercise. So you've had these experiences with strong emotions, right? Um, and you were younger. Like one of them, you were a kid, right?
hmm
The other one, you were praying. I think you said, right?
yeah,
And you said you'd also been into like maybe some sort of other spiritual practices or something along those lines when you
mm,
had some of these experiences,
yeah,
right? Um, okay, so let's think about a couple of possible explanations. So one explanation for these experiences that you had is that there are these real good and bad spirits from another realm, and that they were influencing you somehow emotionally, right?
hmm
Does that sound correct?
yeah,
Okay, so that's one explanation, right? Let's say that that's your best explanation.
yeah.
what's a good second best explanation?
It could have really just, I wouldn't say just maybe just really, in the moment or just overthinking on something could have been, but I don't think so. That could be a second best explanation, but probably not.
Good. So good. Maybe a good second best explanation is something along the lines of these emotions were the product of your own mind ruminating on something, or so
Yeah,
you're saying like overthinking some things or something like that.
yeah.
Okay. So, and maybe you don't give that one as much credence, right? Obviously you have more confidence that this was a result of spirits, but maybe there's this other possible explanation, right? Maybe it was something with your own brain or your own mind, and somehow had these emotional reactions to something going on, while you were in prayer potentially, or doing these other things, these kind of very kind of spiritual heavy contexts, right? Other spiritual practices, prayer, etc. Is there a way, or how could we figure out which of those explanations is more likely true?
I think you can try it again. You could like get a sample of different people who may have been in some of the things that I mentioned a bit. But I'm not gonna go into too much detail exactly how to get there, but some people who could get a sample of different people and see precisely what they feeling, what they're experiencing and stuff, and see, try to map up the data. Do the statistics on that. Hmm.
Okay, so we could try to run some sort of experiment or something like that with people maybe doing similar things and try to see if we get a similar emotional reaction.
I guess, yeah.
And what would it mean if we ran this experiment and people did have the same emotional reaction?
Or
Which
you
which
could,
which hypothesis would that more support?
I mean, I think that it just means that, uh, yeah, these things probably exist, and it's not something that's like, made up. It's probably like if you have a larger sample, then yeah, that can make more sense. The larger test sample, like maybe like 100 or more people.
Okay, so are you saying that if we ran this test and we had people do similar things in a similar context, maybe we had people pray or we had people do these other practices, are you saying that if they didn't have a strong emotional reaction, that would be evidence against the existence of spirits?
Well, I mean, if people just doing these things and don't really, you know, yeah, probably it just wouldn't. Yeah, uh, it wouldn't add up. It would just not only that, but you can also test it by hmm,
I'm just curious how this test, maybe you can just kind of help me. How would a test like this help us know the cause of those emotional reactions?
you can also test what their emotions are going through and just test their brains and make sure that it's not, some other emotional thing, or you can just compare the stories together. compare the results together, but
Yeah, I'm thinking.
yeah, I know it's just hard to like. I'm trying to paraphrase
Yeah,
it.
I'm trying to think if we actually have a good way to know the cause, right?
Mm.
Because here's let me summarize and see if you agree. And once again, correct me if I'm getting something wrong. Basically, a big part of your afterlife belief is based on this idea of good and bad spirits, and you've had these personal experiences before where in some sort of like religious or spiritual context, you had these really strong emotional reactions, really good feelings in some instances, really negative feelings in some instances. And we kind of have these competing hypotheses, right? One explanation is that there are these spirits that are influencing you, influencing your mental state and your emotions and that sort of thing, and giving you these good and bad feelings. And another explanation is that maybe this was something that was a product of your own mind. And maybe there's some other explanation out there, but we at least right now we have these two different ideas, right?
Yeah,
Maybe could be spirits. It could be that you were in a heightened emotional state and you were praying and you were you know it's very common for people from all sorts of different religions to get very emotional when they're doing their religious practices, right? It
yeah,
happens to Muslims. Let me know you don't agree, but it happens with Muslims. It happens with Buddhists. It happens with Hindus. It happens, all kinds of people. When they're engaged in religious and ritual practice, they often get very emotional.
yeah,
And so I think we can agree that people have these strong emotions, right? Similar to what you've had. It's very common. I know I've had very strong emotional reactions in like a religious context before. I've also had really strong emotional reactions when listening to music and laying in the grass and looking at the stars. So, or if you've been to concerts, sometimes you can have a really strong emotional reaction at a concert, or at least for me, music gets me that way. And so what I'm curious about is, we can agree that these sorts of experiences happen. People have them. You've had them. I've had them. It's probably very common that lots of people have had these really strong emotional experiences. What I want to know is, how do you go from having this experience? I want to see the connection. I want to know how you're getting to the attribution, right? How do we know that it's spirits as opposed to brain chemistry, or something along those lines? Is there a way?
because I think
Can we know the
what your
difference?
brain chemistry can do. Sometimes there's certain things within like that could be a far more like it's like I think it's very limited to what your brain chemistry could do, really. Because I mean, even the most strongest brain chemistry cannot do what um like there's only so much you can do really with your brain chemistry. Sometimes it couldn't go beyond what a full on supernatural experience could do. Like it's not something that your brain chemistry or anything can do. In my humble
Is
opinion, I think there's certain limits
is
to it.
that true?
Well, yeah, I think there is certain limits, and not everything. It's really like I don't know. I'm just saying. Well, not I don't know, but I'm just saying from personal experience and sense that is it's brain chemistry is not going to do certain specific things that compared to other spiritual actual full on expected supernatural experiences in my book to say it like that.
So, like, I'm wondering. You're talking about the limits or whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
like, somebody who has like schizophrenia, they'll have hallucinations, um, delusions. They'll see things. They'll hear things. And do you agree that that's due to issues in their brain, like a medical diagnosis?
Yeah. Obviously,
Okay.
that's what schizophrenia is. Yeah, there's actual illnesses out there.
Yeah. So when you're talking about limits of what the brain can produce,
Like, if you're
what is it about these?
saying like
What is it about these experiences that is like beyond, like maybe what might happen in like a schizophrenic patient?
you encountering like evil, but it's so strong that it's like you can't control it. Or you encountering an ultimate good that seems so strong, like you really cannot comprehend it, or you just cannot explain it in words, or you cannot really, you know, you can't let it. It's just it can't. You can't even control or explain it in words. Basically, that's a good way of putting it.
When I was younger, I had a recurring nightmare, maybe verging on the point of like a night terror. I'd have to look into like how it's different. um, but I had these nightmares, and it was the same nightmare over and over again. And like toward the end of it, I was like completely, fully submerged in like utter and complete terror and despair and like hopelessness. Like a deep penetrating, feel it in like your bones, feel it in your heart kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is something I had, it happened numerous times. It was the same nightmare.
But it's like the one thing I'm talking about is like even your senses, like something in your deep inner man can just detect it. Like it's not something like because that thing was like a natural phenomenon, a natural emotion, but it's like
Yeah, I want to know how can we tell the difference between a natural emotion or a natural phenomena or a natural hallucination or a night terror or a panic attack. How can we know the difference between that and what you were describing? That we can then say, oh, this is no longer a natural thing. This is because of a spirit. How can we tell the difference?
um you can try like really trying to test
Can
and
we?
well no not well not well actually I think you can really I mean
So, well, okay, this is a good question then. For the sort of test you're thinking of, right? What sort of result would tell us this is natural versus what sort of result would tell us this is spirits? How do we detect spiritual influence versus a natural emotion or psychotic event even?
I mean when you have like a perfectly normal person with no night well because you have people out there that are perfectly sane, normal, and regular, average human beings that have these wake up out of nowhere, have these really strong and extremely strong experiences of where they sense an evil from some other source and not even from like it's like you remember and I was like a kid I said I was even talking to this person and something in my inner man like my inner being not even my own thoughts but it's like I just got a very strong and a very seriously negative like vibe from that individual
How do you know those weren't your own thoughts?
because it wasn't because the person looked like a normal regular person like the way they looked like you would
Mm.
even like a natural person can just think that they're just some some regular human being anyone can be deceived but it's like as you're talking to this person you just start noticing that there's this negative very dark presence and it's like even feels a little filthy.
Okay, I'm still not sure how. I understand. I'm not questioning that you had this experience. I believe you that this is something that you experienced, that you had this perception of when talking to this person. But I'm still trying to figure out how we can know there was more to that than some sort of, stress response, emotional response, psychotic break kind of thing. You talked about people
I
who
mean,
are
not only that, but in
perfectly
that,
sane. Do you think you're perfectly sane? And what do you mean by that?
well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know if
just
I know what
any
that
average
means.
person with no diagnosed mental illness or no, not under any substances, just any average, literally like any average sane person. I mean, average Joe, you talk to, and
Yeah.
not only
Is
that,
it
but
impossible for an average sane person to have like a hallucination?
it could happen, but sometimes that'll happen from a different natural source, like or happen from something that's like I mean, I never heard of. I mean, you just like wake up one morning and have a hallucination. Is it that there's something that caused? There's something that always has to have caused that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what are some reasons why people might have some sort of hallucination? Like, what are some natural causes of hallucinations? Do you know of any?
Possibly somebody could just have maybe they could be under something, or they could just be they could be under some type of medication or substance, or they could possibly be um slowly descending into a losing sanity. That could happen, but even losing sanity over time does not happen overnight. You just gotta slowly just
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna ask maybe a couple more questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, and we can just kind of um, leave it here with this discussion to a certain point because we've been going for almost an hour now. If you were to, in the future, learn about natural explanations for why people hallucinate, even very normal, sane individuals. If you were to discover information about the natural causes of hallucinations, even strong hallucinations, strong emotional responses, strong feelings, visual, auditory, etc., even in people who are not schizophrenic or have some sort of mental diagnosis. If you were to become confident that there are maybe a variety of natural reasons why somebody might hallucinate something,
Mhm.
would that decrease your confidence in good and bad spirits?
Yeah, it can if they found out some evidence contrary to what I believe about the spiritual realm, then yeah, that would be contrary. But no, that will probably limit. That probably make me feel kind of down. When I'm not down, but make me feel to decrease my confidence in the spiritual realm. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay. I want to check something real quick. You're talking about, you said feeling down, although I'm not sure if that's what you
No, no,
actually
no,
meant.
not down. Like basically feeling like
Okay.
decreasing my belief in
Yeah.
it.
Okay. If you were to become less confident in spirits, in like the spiritual realm, do you think that would impact your life in a significant way?
No, not really. It just I would just well actually maybe a bit honestly, but I'm not gonna like completely change my whole personality. I'll just be like, wow, I'm just really interested.
Okay. So if you were to like, in a couple years, if you were to have less confidence in these sorts of beliefs, spirits and souls and NDEs and afterlife, do you think that you would be a sadder person or behave differently in a significant way or not?
Um, probably be probably probably have like I may have the same morals and personality, but I don't think I would just completely make a whole turnaround and a complete abandonment. And no, I mean, I'll probably just change some things here and there, but
Okay.
probably a little bit different, I will admit, really.
Yeah. All right. Just a couple more questions. Earlier we talked about open-mindedness, and we've kind of covered that a little bit already. And you said that you want to be open-minded and you want to be humble with your beliefs and opinions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you also said you're very confident in this belief. Originally at a 10, and then maybe you backed off a little bit as we talk more about that willingness to be open-mindedness, maybe 9 point something. On a similar scale, maybe out of 10, if you'd like to, how important is it for you to believe true things?
You said to believe true things is very important.
Yeah.
To believe things that are true. Yeah.
So you would prefer if your beliefs that you have are kind of like, an analogy would be like your beliefs are your map of reality, right? How you navigate the world is based on the beliefs that you have, right? And you've got your map. How accurate do you want your map to be?
I want it to be fair and accurate. Like, I don't want to have any misconceptions. I just want it to be based on what I'm thinking. But no, not thinking, not based on what I'm knowing for certain.
Based on what's real, right?
Yeah.
Like you want your beliefs to match up with reality.
Yeah, for reality. Okay. I don't want to, think about something fake or fraudulent. I want something to be real. I just want to have a good understanding of what it is and just what it is.
Cool. All right. Last question. Now I'm not saying this is the case, but if your belief in the afterlife or any of these kind of related beliefs, souls, spirits, right?
Yeah.
If this belief was not true, would you want to know it?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I like to know. I mean, I'm somebody who's open to truth or anything. I don't want to, believe a lie. It's not for me. I can't believe a lie.
Okay. Cool. Well, Attila, that's those are the questions I've got. Do you have any questions for me right now?
Not that I know. Nah, not really. Not much.
Okay. What did you think about the conversation? Was this your first in-person SE conversation?
Yeah, it was my first one, really, and it's pretty interesting. It was pretty cool. It was interesting in a way. It's pretty thought-provoking, and helped me to really realize some things about myself. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. How'd you think I did in it?
How do I think you did?
Yeah. Do you feel like did I maintain a good, friendly demeanor? Was I fairly neutral?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good demeanor.
Okay.
And neutral too. It's pretty decent.
How confident do you think I am in this belief?
How confident do I think you are in the belief that afterlife exists?
Mm-hmm.
You specifically, I think. Wait, do you believe in after?
No, I want you to guess.
Oh.
If you were to guess how confident, if you were to turn the question back around to me, right? How confident are you that there is an afterlife? What do you think my answer would be, like out of 10?
I don't know, maybe 5 out of 5, like 50-50 is. You're not sure, maybe.
Okay. I think that means I was probably being fairly neutral. I hope to be. That's my aim. So.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what my actual number is?
Yeah.
More like a 1, or maybe less than 1.
So you basically don't believe in any afterlife at all.
No, not really. I don't. Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I leave open the possibility. But yeah, at this point, I'm not highly confident. I haven't found it very good reasons to believe there is one. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad that you couldn't tell. That's good. That makes me feel good. Like I'm doing something right, I hope. All right. Well, Attila, hopefully you enjoyed the conversation and it gave you some things to think about.
Yeah, I see. That makes sense.
Any other? Do you have any other thoughts or questions for me at this point, or should we go ahead and wrap things up?
You should wrap it up.
All right, cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining me. Thanks for accepting my invitation to come on and talk. I saw you in the Discord and looking for somebody to interview you about it, and figured why not give it a shot. So cool. Well, I hope you stick around. Have you been having any other conversations or reading anything else that's going on in Discord or?
No, not really.
Not really? Okay. Because I saw you've been there. What was that, like Friday or something like that? Maybe Friday night? Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope you stick around. If you see me on there, give me a wave, say hi.
Okay.
And if you haven't checked out my channel yet, it's called Navigate with Nate. It's on YouTube. So
what's the channel? Navigate
with Nate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if it's okay with you, do you think it'd be okay if I posted this on there? If I used the recording?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
If you want to, yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. If you change your mind at any point, or if there's anything that we talked about that you want me to leave out, just let me know. You can find me on Discord. You can send me a message, or if you find me on there, you can find links. You can find my email address, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, it was a nice talk. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, dude. Well, I don't got anything else for you, so have a good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Yep. Bye.